Colin. Oh, puppy in the background. Puppy in the background. Bew, 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 bew.
Aria. Yeah, I'm one of those cool people who named a pet of mine after a Game of Thrones character. I didn't go. No, actually, no. I can't take. I was gonna be like, I didn't name my kids after him, but Killian's middle name is Samwell after Samwell Tarly because I love that character in the books and in the show.
Nothing wrong with that. I often said if we had kids and one was a daughter, I would name her Gwendolyn after Gwen Stacy.
Ooh, that's solid. Gwendolyn's a beautiful name. Good choice.
It was like one of the earliest like heartbreaking moments of my life was going through and reading Spider-Man and getting to that point where Gwen Stacy dies. It's brutal as a kid.
Yeah.
Not saying I'm so old that I was there when it happened. So fuck you if you fuck you, internet. It just when I got to that point and like going backwards and reading Spider-Man, it was just like that was such a gut punch.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Especially like because when I got into Spider-Man, like Super Spike,
Spike.
It was MJ.
Bombus.
That's all I knew. Oh, Bombus. MJ was all I knew. So then like digging back, and it's like, wait, what? Like,
have you read Spider-Man Blue?
I think I have.
It's by the same crew that did The Long Halloween and
I love The Long Halloween.
Superman for All Seasons. I think what is it? Wade and Tim Sale. I want to say.
Is it Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale?
It might be Jeff Loeb. I think you're right.
Yeah,
Loeb and Sale.
I love them. What a solid team.
The whole premise is Peter finds a scrapbooky thing in his attic with him and MJ's house, and it's Gwen, and it's just him like walking through that.
Oh,
how much he misses her every day, and then at the end, it's but she always wanted me to be happy, and I'm happy. It's brutally heartbreaking.
Wow.
It's very like it's one of those things where you're like, I get it, and this feels very cathartic, but at the same time, it's just like, it's like let all the bad out through that knife in my side. All right, so a couple things I want to mention right off the bat. First and foremost, I rewatched Wolf of Snow Hollow yesterday.
Yeah, solid.
I don't know if I just didn't remember like a lot of that. I'd forgotten, I think, how much of a shitbag the main character. I can't think of the guy he was the same guy who wrote it and directed it, right?
Yeah.
I think it's Jim something.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's got this new movie out called Last Stop in Yuma County. I haven't seen it yet, but it looks.
Yeah, I've seen stuff of that. I forgot how much it is a parallel between the killer and the cop.
Yeah.
That it's this one is, for lack of a better term, especially considering someone who is murdering horrifically, someone who's outpouring their anger in a productive way.
No, and the cop is barely restraining this rage underneath him. And
when he slaps that medical examiner, he just fucking pat. But between that and then like when he falls off the wagon and his kid and he shows up to the boyfriend's house with underwear on his face and beats the shit out of him, and his mom's like pulls the mask off and she's like looks at her son and goes, "What did you do?" Like all of that is like there's so much that's like if you take the context away from the humor, that is a terribly depressing movie. There's some really black humor, and I stole this for DNO when I did that kind of werewolfy thing.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that it's a guy who dresses up like a fucking werewolf, and his attacks are so brutal they're not sure if it's an animal or not.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that he's wearing shit that makes it look like an animal. The first murder, he tears the woman's vagina out.
Yeah,
he tears the head off and he keeps it.
Yeah.
But I love what caught up with me was the ending. I'd forgotten about how he goes to the guy's house to return the evidence bag, and they have this conversation, and it's very pleasant. And he's like, "Well, do you want something in your coffee? You look like you could use it." Yeah, he tears the vagina out. It's fucked up. It's really interesting too as you go along how the cops when they go to these scenes, these horrific murders, they're all just kind of like at the beginning, even though it's something really horrific, they're pretty nonchalant about like seeing it. But as the as the murders go along, the more they just get like more broken by it. And the one cop who's wrong on everything all the time, who won't shut the fuck up.
Yeah, he just
It's
thinks
like
he
the
knows.
whole
Yeah.
movie, you're just like, just punch this asshole right in the face, just punch him. But the ending, so spoilers, I guess. I mean, you should see the movie regardless. It's great.
Yeah.
When he goes to the house and they're having the conversation, he's like, "Do you want me to put some little something in your coffee? You look like you could use it." And he says, "Yeah," but then he doesn't drink any of it because he's back on the wagon. And then he walks out, and there's that moment where he just stops, and he has this look on his face, and he's like, "No." And he turns around, knocks on the door, and the guy goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh, did you forget something?" And he's like, "I'm stupid. I'm so dumb. This is dumb. Can you do me a favor?" And the guy's like, "What?" And he goes, "Stand up to your full height."
Yeah, that's so great.
And you realize when he says that the guy's been stooping the whole time, and when he stands up,
He's
alarmingly big. And
also you get a sense of like power and strength.
Because
Like
when he's sitting and everything, he's kind of curled.
yeah,
The whole time he actually looks like he might have something wrong with him. Like
yeah,
maybe
he looks frail.
Yeah, like he has maybe like a severe scoliosis or something.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's wearing like he's pulling the Superman trick. Grant Morrison talked about this all for All Star Superman. Superman's built, and you can't hide being built. So Clark has clothes that are like a size to 2 sizes too big.
Yeah, he wears huge clothes.
And he makes him look schlubby, and he looks
awful posture.
Yeah,
he's
that scene, like especially the fact that he tries to take that guy down, and that guy kicks the shit out of him. I mean, he lifts him up by his neck,
destroys him.
But he keeps. I feel like it flips the script in that moment of the protagonist, I guess, is like becomes like the unkillable. He just keeps getting up.
Yeah,
and he just keeps to the point that the monster has to run. And then at the end, he does exactly what the first victim's fiance says: "Don't arrest him. Just shoot him in the face until you're out of bullets."
Yeah.
And he does. Like, and you're just like, "Oh shit." But it's also like by the end of the movie, you feel like the weight's off that guy's shoulder. I mean, and I say protagonist, it's just because he's so fucked up. And you are like, "Oh God, you're a fucking mess," until like everything goes off the rails. When his daughter almost gets killed by this thing, when his dad, who's the sheriff, dies, like all this happens in like 10 hours. And he fucking loses it completely. It's like he's been on the precipice for so long that when he finally loses it, you're just like, "Oh God, you're gonna go, bad lieutenant on us here." But I just want to bring that up because I really enjoyed, like, going back and rewatching that. I really enjoyed that there's this weird parallelism between this thing that everything we know about it is like these murders are savage. I mean, they're savage. And then this cop who is trying so hard to live up to these impossible standards he's placed on himself, trying to be his dad, while worrying about his dad. Also, like, you get the impression, and maybe it's just me, that the cops his age, it's a lot of buddy shit. So when he does try to be like, "Hey, do this," they just give him shit.
Yeah.
Like that one guy who leaked that information, and he goes, "Can I talk to you over here?" When they're at that crime scene, he go behind that snow, that like plow thing, and he just kicks the shit out of him and then fires him.
Yeah.
The next day, he's like, "Oh, can you tell who's sitting in the room? Can you tell so and so to pick his stuff up at the front desk because he's fired?" And everyone's like, "Whoa!" But he's also some of it. You look at that and you're just like, "That's unhinged," because he's so angry he cannot control himself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just thoroughly thought that was interesting. Like that they're both are just these balls of rage, but one of them is taking it out by, ripping people's genitalia off or heads or limbs or whatever. And the other one's just slapping a medical exam.
Well,
Ow,
it's like,
ow,
think
ow,
of it
ow,
like,
ow. My arm.
I just thought of it like the villain, he goes through a transformation. So his rage is quote unquote healthily, like he goes through it. And then our hero, he goes to that final transformation himself at the very end through taking all this punishment and abuse. I think that he, in some ways, was a cathartic release for him. And then to finally.
Yeah, when he stands up and she's like, Ricky Lindholm is like yelling at him, like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And he goes slow motion. He just turns at her, and after he's killed this guy, and he turns and he's like this real pleasant smile, and then he fucking falls because,
Yep.
Hey, don't forget that guy stabbed him in the fucking side and went up with a knife.
Yeah, like he gets literally gutted.
Yeah, he gets it pretty bad. But also
it's surprising that. But
I also felt like the guy cut him in a way where he wasn't trying to kill him. Like he thought, like, "Oh, I'm gonna watch you bleed out."
Yeah.
And then the police sirens hit, and he's like, "Oh fuck!" And then Jim Cummings, that's the guy's name. Then Jim Cummings, yes, exactly. I'm just a sheriff in a rage. And then Jim Cummings gets up, and he's like, and that's when you see the thing where he's got almost the whole outfit on, and he's standing outside the door. And he just starts, he doesn't howl, he just starts yelling.
Yeah.
And it is so fucking disturbing.
It is.
Because that actor, and I don't know who it was who played the killer in that movie, he does, like you said, he looks so pleasant and kind of withdrawn and shy and everything. And when he starts doing that, he looks unhinged.
Yeah.
He looks wildly unhinged.
Yeah. Like seeing him in that suit, for the briefest second, it's almost, there's a comic kind of like absurdity to it. You're just like, what? And then he starts just peacocking.
He like starts like heavy breathing, like you're like, oh god.
And it gets any kind of comedic parts to it. And there's a brief flash of it. It's sucked out of the movie completely.
Yeah.
And it's now it's very terrifying, very disturbing, it's just. It just throws you off so much.
It turns into again, the guy who wrote the books, but it turns into almost like a Silence of the Lambs type situation. Who wrote those books? I can never think of.
Is that Richard Thomas?
Thomas Harris.
Thomas Harris. Okay.
Give me a second. But yeah, so I just wanted to bring that up because I watched 4 horror movies yesterday. Because I don't know why, but I watched that. I rewatched Pearl and X because I hadn't seen them in a really long time. And I feel like I had forgotten a lot of X.
X is fun, but Pearl.
Pearl's amazing. X is good, but it's more. Pearl is so much better because it's a character study.
Yeah.
And X is very much.
X is like a love letter to a genre.
Yeah. It feels like House of the Devil mixed with Texas Chainsaw Massacre a little bit.
Well, I think Ty West did House of the Devil.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Feels like there was a little bit of like, hey, I've done the 80s homage. Now I want to do the 70s homage.
Yeah. And very grindhouse-y too, more than the others, I'd say. But then
I really found myself liking the characters in that movie a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Where I was like, whereas in Pearl, it's like you hate everyone.
Pearl,
except for maybe the sister-in-law who feels like she's trying so hard, and the husband at war.
That guy's a goof. What a dork he is. Like, oh man.
But he loves
Yeah.
Unconditionally, and that's kind of that's what she like wanted. I guess she didn't want that, which is so weird. She wanted something else, and it's still like she settles for that, which is so fucking disturbing in itself.
Yeah, she's I don't know. I love Pearl. Like I feel a lot of sympathy for her, but also like
then you
like,
watch
girl.
then you watch X and you're like, I know.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. When she's in, yeah. And Maxine's coming out, I'm so excited for that. So excited for that.
But that's also the interesting part is Maxine is the least likable of those characters.
Yeah. Maxine Minx is not very cool, but I mean, like, I don't know. It's at the end. It's like take that old weird lady out. Go for
No, she's the least likable character, but she's the most like what she has that mantra she keeps repeating, I will not settle for anything less than the life I deserve.
Yeah.
That mantra is like her character.
Yeah.
And that's really interesting to me. Like I do find that fascinating. That like so anyway, I watched those 3 movies, and then I watched the Stone Tapes, which is a BBC, I think it may have been a short, like 2-episode like movie. And we'll talk about it here pretty quickly. It is very much in the Quatermass style of science fiction, horror / science fiction.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. This idea, so I've worked really hard, as hard as I'm able to, about not like leaning into horror.
Okay.
Because I'm really guilty of it. I love horror, and you'll notice like sometimes I will be like, oh, maybe I just dip my toe in this horror a little bit. I mean, fucking Star Wars, for God's sakes. The last Scum and Villainy got body horror-ish at points. And I find that horror is my kind of nookie blankie in RPGs. Like I find it easier to run horror, for whatever reason. I like horror, so it's easier for me. Like, high fantasy is kind of hard for me because I always feel like I'm going too far. But at the same time, I like weird shit. Like I love doing Kirby-esque stuff.
Yeah.
But I constantly have to remind myself, like, no horror. Like stop injecting horror into it. Like even with the Jedi game, like there was a thing they found last session where there was a bunch of, basically degenerated cannibal type things. And in my head, I was going, is this too much? But I'm trying to like push my way back out of that kind of valley. So what I want to talk about is like some horror, analog horror / science fiction horror stuff where, kind of brainstorm some ways to suck the horror out to use it in RPGs. So the first thing is the left-right game.
Mm-hmm.
So I am not a creepypasta guy. So when I learn about this stuff that's like 10 years old, I'm usually like, what? I missed this? So I listened to a podcast with Wendigoon and Meat Canyon. I think his name's Meat Canyon. I can't remember. Papa Meat, called Creepcast. And that's what they do. They talk about this stuff. They two episodes, almost 10 hours about the left-right game. And I was fascinated. I felt like this was very Stephen King-esque through the lens of like more analog horror. The whole idea is you start on this road and then you just make left turn at the first turn, and then the next turn is a right turn, and you just go on that way, left, right, left, right, left, right. Eventually, you literally drive yourself into another world.
Yeah, you'll find a tunnel and you'll drive through that.
And there's like all these markers along the way. Like there's a hitchhiker. And if you pick him up, you have to pick him up, don't talk to him. You just have to listen. If you speak with him, you engage with him, then shit's going to go bad for you.
Yeah, that's when you get on the other side.
Yeah, and he is trying his hardest to engage with you.
Also, the road might be sentient.
Yep.
That you're traveling on. It might be trying to lead you to your doom. So you need to be watchful of that. And yeah, it's a fascinating world.
So the whole thing is, I thought about this from a couple different perspectives. Whether I don't think it feels like it's very D&D, because I think there's a D&D equivalent of this already, which is a domain of dread called the Road, which is a domain of dread for the Headless Horseman.
Okay.
It's like you end up on a road, and it just turns into a road that just loops back over and over again. Yeah. Exactly.
Off ramp to your doom.
It loops back into this town over and over again, like you can't leave, and it's basically like Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah, and there's that town in this Jubilation and
stuff. Yeah. And there's another town that one lady wants to get to, that they don't get to it out until after she's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like the idea of this, and I thought about like, I thought about a couple different things, but I think it would make it interesting, like BPRD adventure.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you could make this fit into anything, really. Like,
so I would say, like, so thinking about it, what do you think the tenets of this are? What do you think are the things that make this, like, breaking it down to a basic components? So is it just patterns? Rigid patterns to follow?
I think you need to do, like, yeah, there need to be that, but also you need to have it somehow, you randomly generate those too for every, like, session. So, like, if I don't know, like, because you'd want, because that's it's the dynamic is so strange, where there is that thing you need to follow, but then it's always throwing, like,
that's what I think that the road is always consistent, but everything around it is inconsistent.
Yeah.
So, like, the path is consistent, but the environment is, you used a word there, not inconsistent, not chaotic, is random.
There we go.
Because one thing I loved was the main driver. And
Rob.
Yeah, Rob. And then they would get to stuff, and she would be like, "So you've seen this bird?" Nope, this wasn't here the last time I was here. This didn't. Never been. Or I also love when he's like, "I've never been this far." So you have no idea what we're gonna eat. Nope, never been this far.
He's a man of secrets, though. That Rob.
Yeah, Rob is interesting because
all the characters are really interesting in
because he's written so you feel like he's doing something insidious, and then it turns out, nope, he's just that guy, you know. Especially when he comes back when he goes out for certain people to help them.
Yeah,
I mean, and he does it consistently, but every time early in the story, you're like, it feels like this is for other reasons.
Yeah, like, well, just the whole, I
would say, except for maybe Ace, because with Ace, it feels like he's trying to, like, right a wrong.
I'd agree with that. Yeah.
It's just his reaction afterwards is so cold, like no emotion. So, yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I really like the characters.
Yeah, I love that. All those investigators that come along are so really unique.
That's why it felt very much like a BPRD thing.
Yeah, like there's just, I don't know, like that older. Is it a brother and sister couple?
Yeah,
that's an interesting. That's
the way that ends.
Yeah. It's very Stephen King-y in that. It really, there's like a lot of heart, and you're like, oh no.
But I also felt like Annihilation had some similar vibes to that.
Yes.
Where you're on this trip, and it very well may be a one-way trip. And you see, like, I mean, it kind of makes me feel like maybe this would be something good to use that DM-less game that I have that you use cards, and I can't think what it's called all of a sudden. It's kind of built around the idea of things like Annihilation, where your group is going in to this thing and you're probably not coming out. In fact, let's see. Let's grab and see if I can.
What do they call that? The Shimmer?
Yeah, it was called the Shimmer.
Oh God, that bear that screams in a woman's voice will never leave my head. That is terrifying.
They're the mutated things in that movie are so well done.
Like the plants that are just exact people. Like there's what a superb movie. Like, oh man. Or the dude who's like, they find all those like fungi and it's like the skeleton on the Ugh. Ugh.
Sorry, I'm just gonna see if I can find this really quick.
No, it's all good. It's all good in the hood.
I don't think it's Miru. This is the problem. Miru is kind of another game I backed not too long ago. It's zipped, but it's kind of that liminal horror. I bought a bunch of liminal horror RPGs. I've yet to run any of them. I really want to play Delta Green, but I don't want to run it. Because I enjoy basic role-playing rules. It's the same rules as like Pendragon and Call of Cthulhu.
Okay.
But I don't like running it.
Okay.
And Delta Green is just modern Cthulhu.
Yeah.
You work for an organization called Delta Green, and they call you in because you have regular job. Like almost all the characters work in the government of some type, but you're all like sleeper agents for Delta Green. And there's a really good actual play of Delta Green I highly recommend because it is fucking hilarious, which is weird that it's hilarious. It's called Get in the Trunk. It's very, very good. Also, I have a Mech Your Bed also makes me laugh every time I see it. Also want to do Night's Black Agents at some time. I haven't. I need to dig deeper into it. You're after Dracula, and Dracula has basically subsumed the British government. So he kind of won.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. Why can't I find things when I'm looking for them? Real Housewives of Innsmouth. Something I also want to do.
What?
Real Housewives of Innsmouth. People convinced me to get that because it's called The Zone. So it's a little bit like The Zone, Roadside Picnic, or Stalker.
Yeah.
Which Stalker is based on Roadside Picnic.
Okay.
So I did the non-printed version of it. So I would need like someone to print off there's like cards, which are like you're slowly changing the longer you're in the zone. But let's take a look at it real quick. I figured this might be an interesting way to do that story though. Because you're literally like you mutate to change.
Okay.
There's no DM. This is kind of like in the same breadth and scope as like oh gosh, what is that game? It plays like a Coen Brothers movie where no one's running it. Paranoia. Oh gosh, darn it!
I don't know the name, but you told me about this. This sounds really interesting.
Fiasco.
Okay.
Last time I played Fiasco, I played it during Extra Life, and I played a dumb jock high schooler who was sleeping with a like 35-year-old teacher. Ooh. And who was like doing whatever she basically was like down to do whatever she wanted. And at the end of the game, when you're kind of negotiating and talking about like what happens to these characters, I was like, you guys realize like my character has to die. And if he doesn't die, he needs to be framed and go to prison. He's too dumb to not have one of these two things happen. And like they put here, surreal play to lose. And that's kind of what Fiasco is as well. It's like you're not playing to be like to tell this heroic tale. You're playing to have the best story, like as a group, to make the most sense. So like I thought this might be an interesting way to do that. This has a lot like a vibe of Annihilation, and
Yeah.
I think they mentioned even Color Out of Space. So like, yeah, you have cards and you like archetype, motivation, call sign type of things. Which is very much like what Fiasco is. And you can look on our YouTube page to find that game that Zach ran of Fiasco, where I do that, and I'm real dumb in it. I very much enjoyed it. But like, yeah, this is the game. This might be a good way to do left right game. But anyway, just a thought.
No, that could be, yeah. I can't say I've really played much like DM-less games, so that would be interesting.
This game's got a good like Fiasco is like almost like a writer's room.
Mm-hmm.
You have characters and your turns are scenes, and you like are basically given prompts, and then you have your scene. So it's like a role play heavy game. I mean, it's on the backbone of role playing. Cassandra hates it because it's not her thing. Because no one gets killed immediately. There's no role for initiative moment in it. I kid. But it's a super story driven game. Unlike when I say like Coen Brothers, I mean things like Barry and things like that are perfect for Fiasco. And you can go out. Tabletop, wasn't that Will Wheaton's old show?
Yeah, yeah.
They did the two episode Fiasco with I believe like Laura Bailey. I can't think of one of the other folks, and John Rogers, who was
his show. That was a good show.
Yeah, it was, and they did Fiasco, and they did like I want to say it was like 1970s like drug deals gone wrong was the thing on it. Like one of them like had a dance club where they were like dealing coke out of it, and that's the thing about Fiasco is like it's very grounded in. It's like, to me it reminds me of like Raising Arizona, a Coen Brothers flick. It's like situation is not grounded, but it's in a very grounded world.
Yeah.
So we're gonna put possibly use the zone as the system. The other thing when I was thinking about this is we deal in lead.
Yeah, I've been dying to play that again, or run it at least.
Because I can see the left-right game fitting directly into something like
it's very there's that kind of Dark Tower element of like a world that's off. It's adjacent, like our own, but then it's not our own, and it comes in ways that are very slow and creeping until you're like, oh, I'm now in over my head.
Or completely. Like, have you read Die?
I don't think I have.
It's built around this idea that these kids used to play a RPG, and then they were big into it, and then one of them what they found is like the Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe. They went into the world, and then they all escaped, I guess, as kids except for one, and then as adults they have to go back.
Oh,
and I'm trying to remember who wrote it. It was a comic first.
Okay,
but as like they did the comic, they built the game, and I think like James and Matt and I all bought the game, like bought not the digital, we bought the actual game itself too.
Yeah.
I just got to know who. I don't think it was Matt Fraction, Who wrote the Kieran Gillian.
Oh.
And the world is a giant D20. And each side is like a different thing, a different, like, I guess, like kingdom. But the classes are very, like, one of the classes is basically like the trickster, but one of the things about the trickster is he has to lie all the time. And the character who's the trickster, spoiler alerts, one of the things he's lying about is as an adult, he has inoperable cancer. So he's going to die when he goes back. And that's like something like they keep trying to get the truth out of him. And he's like, nope. Like one of the characters is like a knight of like sorrow. So he's basically gets his powers off of thinking about horrible things that like have happened to him. And it's because he's depressed. So it's like all these real world things.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of the characters is non-binary. So in the real world, I want to say they present as male, and in die they're female. They present or they are female, and there's a lot of like kind of this ongoing thing about like their what do they feel is their actual gender. So it's great. It's so good. We've talked a long time about playing it. Because for a while before they announced it was going to come out as a game, I had talked about running a short D&D thing where everyone would play as themselves, but somebody else in the group would roll up the character that is them. So it was like I would make your character of you, so you didn't get to choose like what your things are. It's through the lens of somebody else's eyes, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway,
that sounds really cool. Yeah. Yeah.
No, it's a very cool system. I do a lot of like, oh, this would be cool, but when I have to settle down and like dig through it, sometimes I don't have as much. I have a hard time sometimes digesting and then remembering everything because brain injury. I used to be able to sit down and pick a system up. I goes nothing, and now I can't do that. Oh yeah, the stone tapes. If you have Shudder, or I think it may be on Amazon as well right now. The Stone Tapes is a BBC presentation. And I think it's from like the late 60s or early 70s.
72.
Yeah, and it's again got a very Doctor Who Quatermass feel to it. And the whole premise is like this, also very racist.
Oh, it's from the same writer.
Yeah.
Quatermass.
It's very racist. So the whole thing is the British government. It is real bad. Like the way they talk about the Japanese is terrible.
Oh God. I can speculate.
Yeah. The whole thing is like, because the British government is like, the real war right now is the economic war, and we're going to be crushed by the Japanese. So they're like set aside this space in different places for these like inventors, people who are going into like electronics and stuff to like do conjectural work. So we follow this team, which has a little bit of like almost like Prince of Darkness-esque feel to it. And they're working in this old building, and they find one of the rooms, and it fucks up two of the people on the team. Because there's a ghost in here. Like I have seen it and I've heard it, and rather than go the supernatural route, they go the scientific route of like, it's called the stone tapes because they're like, oh, we figured out this is like in the stones. This is a recording. It's not a ghost. It's like a memory that can be visualized or be auditorily heard. And what if we turn this into technology? But the problem is, and this is the great part about it, is the head guy becomes also a complete shitbag. Especially by the end, you're like, I hope this guy don't end show without him getting his comeuppance.
Yeah.
Because the way he treats his team, especially the one female member, is fucking awful. By those standards as well as today's standards. Like he's married, has kids, but he's trying to sleep with everything that has a skirt. And he's just a hyper intelligent, like, I kind of look at it as like probably what Tony Stark would be like in real life.
Yeah.
But I mean, don't say Elon Musk because Tony Stark's an actual smart guy. Elon Musk is just a guy who steals technology by people that work for him and doesn't even understand it.
No, he doesn't. Elon Musk is a big dummy. With a lot
He's an
of money.
idiot.
Yeah.
Anyway,
he's made good investments.
Well, not even that. He just grew up with a lot of money, so he has.
Yeah. But everything he's ever like got his hands on, he's just fucking fumbled and destroyed. He's like the George W. Bush of tech.
He's Trump.
Yes.
He's Trump with better PR.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Anyways, yeah. Sorry, everybody.
It's true. What we find out is like, so he works his team to the bone to figure out like how to duplicate this. And by trying to get it to run over and over and over again, they literally erase the stone tape. So this ghost they kept seeing is just gone.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're like, okay, well, nothing happened. This guy's like, oh, I fucked up now. And now I have to go eat shit to the person who gives us our grant money because I can't prove this. And we have to start on another project. And he's under a lot of pressure because there's another guy who's like trying to invent a self-controlling washing machine. The like to sort your laundry, does your laundry, all this shit. It just comes off as dumb as fuck. But like these two are competing for money and space and all this. And he's like, well, now I basically get pissed on this guy. Now I don't have anything to show. So this guy's going to actually be able to come into this building and take space and funding.
To a washing machine.
That's why I think part of it makes it so interesting is it's dumb as fuck.
Yeah.
Because his thing is, it's like, well, this is actually practical.
Yeah.
Whatever you're doing, I don't even know what you're doing, but do you have any results?
Yeah.
Other guy's like, no, I'm not showing you anything. You don't understand where you are in the pecking order. Like, so, anyway, the primary character who is the only female on the team is kind of like very sensitive to all this stuff. She's a computer programmer. She realizes like, while the ghost that they saw is gone, something else is there. And what she realizes is like, this is like a record, like a geological record through sound, and like these stones are like a geological record through sound and visions. And this ghost was like the surface layer covering up what was beneath it. And what was beneath it is very Lovecraftian. And in the end, running from it, she accidentally kills herself. And they have to do a big inquiry, and her boss, the shitty guy, kind of buries her in the inquiry so he doesn't lose his funding, to the point where the other people on his team are like, you're a fucking piece of shit. Like, we always knew you were a piece of shit, but you were our piece of shit.
Yeah.
And you buried her. You used to sleep with her. And you did this to her because she couldn't defend herself. Like, you ruined her. And at the very end, he's the only guy on the team who couldn't see or hear anything earlier. He goes in and he sees and hears something, and it's her. Because now she's the top layer of the record.
Oh.
And it kills him. It's great. I mean, it's slow burn. shot like a play, BBC, you know, the
Yeah.
old school Doctor Who. The story's great though. So I love that idea of like ghosts aren't ghosts. Like there's a scientific reason for them being there.
Yeah.
Because one thing is they talk about like no one told you about the exorcism that happened here. And they're like, yeah, we know about the one that happened then. And the priest is like, no. There was one that happened like 100 years before that. And they're like, there wasn't a building here then. And he was like, I know, but the Catholic Church has records that this happened on this site. So they're like, there's like research to it. So that's why it kind of makes me feel a little bit almost like Prince of Darkness, because it's like the devil can be proven through math and science. So it's like, what if something seen as mystical?
Well, yeah, because isn't Prince of Darkness? Isn't the theory that like
just be explained
Satan is this like
through science,
super ancient entity that somehow made it to Earth and then became a part of mythos, as well as like Jesus being kind of a.
Well, that's one thing I love about that movie is they don't ever fully explain.
They never do. No,
I started to think it was like, is he just like an equation?
Yeah, it's really
just like number. Which I thought was really interesting. I love that movie because of that.
Yeah,
it's like so wildly, like almost esoteric that you're like, I'm not sure what in the end it is. I just know it's like beyond our scope of understanding.
Yeah.
So what is something seen as mystical truly can just be explained through science? However, by doing so, humanity can't see that there are layers beneath that would undermine our complete understanding of our own place in the cosmos. This also,
or like the from beyond
or Quatermass in the Pit.
Yeah, there's that just things that we just cannot perceive that are there.
This idea where they find that skull as they're building on to the subway, they find this skull and it doesn't make any sense. And they start to look at it. What they figure out in the end is it's an alien skull. And that aliens have been here before, and that aliens might be responsible for mankind. They very much. And this story took place a long time ago. It's kind of a riff on, At the Mountains of Madness too, which famously rips off this idea that we are just an experiment. Which, hey, Eternals, if you read those old comics, Stan and Jack had a lot of that going on of like, we are an experiment, which I still think is way more Jack than Stan. So I really enjoy what the hell is it, guy?
Stan Lee, creator of Ravager 2099.
I don't hate Ravager 2099 like some people probably do.
What?
But what I think the 2099 universe is supposed to be that way.
It was super edgy and like it was so 90s, but there's stuff I really loved that came out of it.
Yeah,
I really do. Like
Spider-Man 2099,
And I think if I remember right, Doom 2099 was actually
Doom 2099, very good.
Yeah.
I liked X-Men 2099 a lot, to the point that I have the trade. I like the idea, of kind of looking at the old X-Men as like these legendary heroes. Plus, I don't think it hurt that Ron Lim did the art, and I basically, if Ron Lim does the art, I'll at least look at it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find the guys, like it's like called Implicitly Pretentious or something like that is the name of the YouTube channel. I can't find it though. Oh, there it is. Implicitly Pretentious. Yes. This person does video essays that are usually between 8 and 15 minutes on animated flicks and on comics. And Their DC stuff is amazing. Their Spider-Man stuff, they really like Stan, and I'm very much not a Stan guy. But I will say I do agree with the fact that after Ditko leaves and it's Stan and Romita, it's the best stuff Stan wrote.
Yeah.
By far. You can tell the shift in who Peter Parker is when Ditko leaves. Because Ditko wrote Peter Parker as an outsider who was like, one day, you fuckers, I will have my revenge. And Stan wrote Peter as like finally kind of getting to the point where it turned into like, I'm the everyman, I accept it. No, that's just the Parker luck and all that. Which also means that Stan wrote my favorite Peter Parker stuff with like Gwen Stacy. Because I don't know if anyone knows this or not, but Ditko was like very against Harry Osborn being the Green Goblin. His thing was Green Goblin, we should never find out who the Green Goblin is. It should be a faceless, nameless person who is just doing this to do this. And that makes him far scarier. You never find out who he is, which later on they sort of tried to do with the Hobgoblin, and then it just turned out like, well, now we have to give it a name because everyone's like demanding it. So anyway, I like this idea of like, and we're going to put that too. What we say, Prince of Darkness. This kind of idea of like, almost like the dwarves we've dug too deep, except for like from an intellectual capacity. But I don't know. So one thing I was thinking about using this is in DNO. So there is a race, and from what I hear, they might show up in the last 5e adventure, the Vecna thing, Eva Vecna, I think it is. They're called Spellweavers, and I'm aware of them from second edition. They're like these 4-armed, no mouth, like progenitor race, and they have 4 arms. They can cast like 2 spells at a time. But I can't remember like what is the deal, like if they just like are trying to getting rid of magic. But like they claim they're older than the gods. So I'm trying to think what their goal was. If they were trying to like bring the multiverse back to its previous state. Maybe that's what it was. It doesn't really matter because I can do whatever I want with them. My game. So my thought is that maybe they have been setting like in the background of the multiverse, like just biding time, doing these massive rituals. And that the PCs are slowly piecing together like, oh, there's a race we were completely unaware of. And the more we dig, the more we realize like everybody history we know about them isn't true. Like the further you go down the rabbit hole, like the older the library, the older the book, the more it discredits the book before it. Until finally, like coming to the realization, like, oh, these are like the Galactus of D&D. They're from the previous multiverse. And it would like things to return. They would like things to go back. They like the things to go back to the way they were. They're boomers. So anyway, I'm thinking about like, it fits really well into the overall narrative of my DNO thing because the main antagonism going on in the background is that there's these three gods who were all about like unmaking everything, and that they were 3 gods who were part of like the original OG pantheon who kind of got cast out because they were like, I think we've made an error here. And their other progenitor pantheon members were like, I don't think so. and you're outvoted. There's like 12 of us and 3 of you. So we can't lock you up. There is no Tartarus. There's no, we can stick you. So we're just going to eject you from the multiverse. We're going to put you in the places, the blind eternities, the places in between, and hope you never get out. So these 3 gods in the game we're playing, they've gotten out, and they're slowly but surely like unmaking things. So I kind of thinking like at some point the PCs find out like something let them out. Like they're the eraser to wipe the board clean so the Spellweavers can go in and rewrite everything. So that's kind of the thought on that. I don't know. Is that feel like it has legs? Okay. Like I'm thinking at some point, even like having someone come in, and I've asked Beer to do it a couple times, but his ability to do so has been really hampered. Of having someone come in and play off and on as a sentient item. So their actual physical body that they're utilizing, the character doesn't matter. It's about the weapon. And having the weapon or the item predate these pantheons. Maybe be something actually from Plangea. Like this item is from like Plangea, tying it all the way back to then. Because I do want to run a Plangea game. Maybe not like an ongoing, but at least run some mini-series games of Plangea, because I love that idea of here was the beginning of this version of the multiverse. I love the black taboos. I love that no number above 9, no written word, no wheels. I fucking think all that stuff is genius. And Caveman D&D would be great because I love Primal. So they'd want to kind of do it like Primal. But yeah, like I was saying, I would want someone to come in and play like an item from that time period, who, you know, is a sentient item. So the person wielding the item doesn't matter. It's the item that the person would be playing.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
They're kind of driving a person like a stolen vehicle,
like
Black
Elric's sword,
yeah, or the D&D version Black Razor.
Yeah.
The same fucking thing. They just had to change the name because of copyright reasons. What is the name of his sword?
Oh God. I
can't remember all of a sudden.
It's cool.
All I can think of, Stormbringer?
I think you're right on the money.
All I can think of is
Stormbringer.
The Blue Oyster Cult song Black Blade, which is
that's so cool. Like he chucks it into the water, and all of a sudden he just finds it on him again and shit like that. Like it won't leave him, and it's like killing him. But
it wants him to kill his friends.
Yeah.
It gives him power, but he has to like. Have you ever heard that song Black Blade?
I don't think I have. By
Blue Oyster Cult. It's
Oyster?
great. The most of the song is basically Elric talking about like this sword.
Okay.
And in the very end, in like this very like electronic voice, it's the sword. And it's like, my master is my slave. At least look up the lyrics. The lyrics are great. I really like the song though too.
I'll listen to it. I love Blue Oyster Cult. They're great.
It's one of my favorite Blue Oyster Cult songs. It's just so fucking good. You know, born a million years ago, Black Blade. But yeah, the sword of mine wants me to kill my friends, and
they're such nerds.
It'll keep killing till the end of time. Yeah, I think it's like, I think like having a character play that, like a weapon like that, not necessarily a weapon of pure chaos.
Yeah,
but like
something that has its own agency and a
goal. Yeah, it has a distinct goal. I love the idea of it being like, whether it's trying to, and I just put it in the chat, whether it's trying to actively like in the world, or whether it's trying to like assist, you know, these spell weavers, or if it's trying to actively
be found by them.
Yeah, or even be found by them, or wants to kill them. Like is like, Oh no, I've known these assholes since the beginning of time. Like they were they were pulling the strings of like all of us. Because I also like the idea of this sword or whatever it is being like normal, and then eventually gaining sentience and having like memory of all of this. You know, like, oh, I've been used by thousands of hands to do all sorts of things, but at the end, whoever wielded me eventually did what I wanted it to do. You know, I love the idea of like a sentient weapon, like being a character. I know it sounds so weird, but because I think it kind of works directly against maybe like what D&D is supposed to be, but I kind of, I guess, it gets rid of the agency of a character, but what if the character's the weapon?
I don't know.
It's such a weird,
I think it works.
Concept, I guess. I just have never seen anybody else do that. And I like the idea of like that being a thing where like,
I kind of did something like that, but I didn't have another character do it. I did it myself, but I had in one of my games I ran, one of my players had a bow that had the spirit of this like elf princess inside it, and it would have its own extra bonus rolls and things like that and stuff that you would have to do. And yeah.
Well, I
love
like
affair started between the player and the bow.
Yeah, I mean, and I love the idea of like the PCs meeting, you know, a person wielding it who at the same time is like, help me.
Mm-hmm.
And the sword's like, oh, no. You have to understand, like, I'm not evil. This person like stole me out of a horde, which is great because I had to get out of there. But I need a wielder because otherwise I don't get to do what I'm supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, almost like the sword is the hero of destiny, not the character, not the actual physical body. So, you know, it just uses people because it uses people like we would use a sword. Like the relationship is just fully flipped.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm trying to what else is making me think of that? Like,
yeah, going like, I'm a sentient thing. Like you can't just stick me in a fucking glass case and say, look at this cool thing. Like I'm a thing. I'm a
almost kind of like I don't know, the symbiotes a bit. Like
yes.
I give you power, but I am my own thing that has a goal and needs, and yeah, and I will basically hijack you. I'll help you out a bit, but
so yeah,
I
kind of want to use that, and I've thought about it too. Is it would be a cool thing to use between DNO and Chaos Scar.
Yeah.
Where like this thing could show up in either one, you know, because it's like, oh, because I don't know if you were on when I talked about this. I'm going to have Vorain Earthmane show up in DNO.
Okay.
That he survived the Chaos Scar cataclysm by getting thrown into time. So he has Ionic Drift is what I'm calling it. So like he looks like an Ionic Drifter, which is a kobold press monster, which is not really a monster. It's like a time traveler. And you look kind of undead because like as you go through time, like your life force gets dispersed.
Okay, yeah.
So he's been in this time stream for like thousands of years now. And he basically falls out of the time stream into liminal space. And I want to like take a couple episodes for them to figure out who he is. So I've got a fetch quest of like one of the teachers is actually the wife of a character I played in D&D DT who is a chronomancer. And she's going to be like, hey, I need these items to basically make the equivalent of a chronal Bacta tank, chronal Bombus tank. And like they need like a bunch of electrum. They need to be able to construct a round room because this guy's been inside the time stream so long, like the Hounds of Tendalos are looking for him. So they need a round room because they can only come out of corners. And they need electrum to like, you know, I'm saying basically electrum has this weird effect on chronal energy and, you know, So anyway, I kind of want to like, so they put him in this thing, and between her magic and that, and they like are able to use like these magical sands of time, and they basically are able to get him back to his normal form, and it's Vorane Earthmane. And he's like, what? And he decides to not go back to where the Chaos Scar is, because it's like, you know what, I lived there, I did everything I was supposed to do, I survived this cataclysm by accident. I basically jumped into one of my mini portals in my portal room, and because of the blast, I got lost, and I fell here. And so now I'll just start over somewhere. I don't have to start over here, but because I kind of like the idea, and this is how they kind of, I can't tell if they, because I haven't read through every adventure in that path, but it felt like he's just a magnanimous wizard dude. And I like the idea of that, because I get really kind of tired of, especially in D&D, a lot of the wizards, like Elminster, kind of magnanimous, but does some shady shit. Also, like, is kind of a creep with women. Mordenkainen's whole thing about the balance. I mean, he'll literally do bad things because he's like, oh, there has to be a balance between good and evil. So I will, if I have to, I'll do the bad things. I like the Circle of Eight from Greyhawk. They're primarily, a bunch of them are good dudes. And I like the idea of just a good guy wizard who's like, no, I'm not selfish at all or whatever. I just want to learn. I want to know, what do you want to know? I want to know everything. And I want to just be good. I just want to do good things. I want to help people. So I like that idea a lot. I think, and then I can phase some characters out and phase some characters in. This session tomorrow night, that's what it is like, there's a graduation. Some of the characters graduate. We get a couple of new characters. Then it'll end with the whole Vorane falling into liminal space, which sucks because, as Matt and I talked about last time, I just did a Someone Falls into Liminal Space story 2 episodes ago, which was a character who had died, who was like an angel, and basically their god was like, oh, I'm giving you a second chance, like, to go back and like live a life. So I was like, man, I want to do this other fall into liminal space story. Is it too soon? He's like, no, fuck it, just do what you want to do.
Yeah.
But we already built like the fetch quest and everything, the 4 fetch quests and everything. I like that idea of like just something fun. Also brings back the oh god damn it, I can't remember their name. It's a bunch of sentient insect men in the the Sovereign Swarm. They're basically like British colonialists if they were insect people. In the why can't I think of words? It's not ether. It's oh god, why am I? What is this? What is happening to me? Astral Sea.
Yeah.
Jesus, sorry about that. Fuck.
No, you're good.
All right, so last one I was thinking about that I'd like to try to figure out is the back rooms, which I think very much has similar style of entry point as a left-right game, except for it's less rigid pattern. It's like an accident. Yeah. I like the back rooms, very similar to like why I like the Feywild and the Shadowfell and D&D. That idea of like there's areas that are thin, and if you're not careful, you can just wander into someone else's universe and someone else's like parallel, and that the Feywild is all bright and color saturated. It's all like Wizard of Oz, but if Wizard of Oz was trying to kill you. It's hungry. Whereas the Shadowfell is dark and gray and undead, also trying to kill you. And I have a really cool Shadowfell supplement from 4th edition, a box set. It's like called like Gloomrot City on the Shadowfell. It's really, I'd really maybe like to use some of that, like, because it's like, oh, here's a city in the Shadowfell that like isn't like a necropolis. Like the guy who runs it is actually immortal; he can't die. So, and there's like one of the characters I really enjoy in there is there's like a Fire Genasi who is a diplomat for the city of Brass.
Ooh.
But there's like a lot of like little backstabby elements in it. It's very political. And also it's the whole idea of like, you could leave and you could go out into the gray wastes around it, but we're so close to the negative energy plane that if you're out there too long outside of Gloomrot, you'll just start to die because we're that close to where the Shadowfell becomes the negative energy plane. They'll just suck your life out of it. If you go out there and get lost, you're gonna die.
Yeah.
But I like that idea. Just like, I feel like it's a good companion to like the Fey Courts and the Shadowfell, or in the Feywild.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I haven't really used the Fey Courts in anything since Domains of Dread, where I used like a dark Fey Court and that was stuck in the Domains of Dread. So I guess it'd be like a dark Sealy court. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, what about backrooms? How do you think that would be? I don't know if I feel like they're inherently horror.
No. It's I don't know if think of it more as like not necessarily like purgatory, but a purgatory-esque kind of like it's an in-between neutral state, neutral plane, neutral pocket dimension. Where,
what would you feel would be a good game to utilize that?
I don't know. I think you could fit it. You could really fit that concept into anything and make that like, and it wouldn't have to be horror tinged at all. Just like I'm stuck in this labyrinth kind of a deal, and how do I get out? It's there's the familiarness, but it's also very. It's off to a degree that I know I don't belong here.
I also feel like Stranger Things is the Shadowfell. The Upside Down is.
Yeah.
I mean, they borrow so much from D&D. They've already borrowed so much from D&D. It feels very much.
Yeah, they do.
The way it looks and all of that, it just feels very Shadowfell. But I like the idea of like this being like a very neutral state.
Yeah.
Like an eternal waiting room.
That's cool. Yeah.
Like you're being processed to go where you're supposed to go. But like the lines are so long that you basically get to explore this entire area that is just a neutral state.
Would there be other people there?
That's the thing or would you just get like a ticket?
Or would you like do what they do, like where you no clip into it?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I like the idea of like, if you've led a life where you're like godless, I guess, and you've like lived a very neutral life, and they don't know where to send you, you end up here. And when you come to, you just have a ticket, like with a number on it. Like you're going to get called when your ticket comes up. But I also like, what does that fit? It's a great concept. I just don't know where and like, I like the back rooms as like an exploratory, like when I think about that again, I think of like I do with left right game. I think of like BPRD.
So would it be like you die and go there, kind of like almost like in the Gunslinger when Jake Chambers dies, but then all of a sudden he's in Midworld. Like
you die. My thought is like maybe this is what takes place in the seconds of you dying before you die, like fail your last death saving throw or get revived. And like this second could last a really long time, like in this neutral realm. So almost like flatliners, like you might have to talk to somebody who's stuck there. So you have to be killed, but like stay in the precipice between death and not death. Like someone might have to use like a spell like Gentle Repose. Ooh. So then you could go to that in-between place to like, I got to talk to this guy.
If you organize like a full party wipe and then all of a sudden they all wake up like, wait, and then like, you're like, whoop, that could.
I love that idea, but I also love the idea of someone saying, this person got, they like they stumble across this person. They read a bunch about how they're supposed to find this person, and they find them, and their body's just like stuck in this forever state of non-death. Like almost the princess in the case, what that Sleeping Beauty. And they're like, oh, you need to talk to this person. Well, they're dead. Well, not really. Technically, they're in they're in purgatory. And purgatory, like you said, purgatory is the back realms, or the back realms, the back rooms. So they like have to die, but not die to go there. Like as a group, they're like, okay, I guess we got to do this thing. And the person's like, yeah, you're on a time limit, because in 24 hours, this spell wears off, and then you start making death saving throws. And if you succeed in 3, you just come back. You get pulled out of there. If you fail 3, you're dead. So really, you got to try to get to the part where you fail 2, succeed 2, and then succeed on the last one. Also, while you're there, if you're tight with a god and they find out that you're there, they're just going to come get you. They probably personally won't come get you, but they will send people to come get you because you're not supposed to be in purgatory. You're supposed to be in your own, like their own Elysium fields or whatever, Bitopia or whatever it might be.
Or what if it's like, not to say you have to go, but like the idea that keeps popping up for me is like, what if it's somewhere that's so far away from the reach of the entire pantheon of like deities? So like
maybe it is like the blind.
You can't get that Eagles moment where they come and save you from Mount Doom. Like you really are, like, I don't know. I think that would give more of a kind of urgency to the players that were there. Like maybe they tried to like, oh, I got this. I'm going to reach out to my guy. He'll get us out of here. Right. And then like, wait, how come I can't like make the call go through? Like,
well, that's the thing I would say is like, if you go here, you can't use clerical spells.
Okay.
Because then you're calling upon your deity, and that's like a big red light going off and going, oh shit, I got to get my guy. So it's like you want to stay hidden. The other thing I thought about is like, what if this is like a sub realm of the Blind Eternities? You know, like the space between spaces where the far realm is. You know, it also has that feel to it. But I'm like, that's so Lovecraftian horror. And instead, I like the idea of it being like this very mundane, you know, this very mundane office style, like endless corridors. I also like the idea of like people hiding there. Of people like figuring out like, well, I don't want to go there.
Ooh, you could make a really good antagonist of someone who doesn't want the players to get out of there because that's going to alert someone who he's hiding from.
Or you're going to get out with this information from this person, and I can't let that happen.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, but if this person tells you these things, it changes everything on the outside, and I can't have that happen. Maybe it's someone who like discredited this person.
Yeah.
Or someone like even better if it's like someone who was a religious leader in the prime material plane, but then got stuck here because they really weren't who everyone thought they were. They ended up being a non-believer. But they're like, on the prime material plane in some of these worlds, I'm still a big deal. If you take the word of this person out back to the prime material, I'm discredited. And then my memory, so not only does it take away the fact I can't go to my afterlife, I'm stuck here until whatever, but also now you go back and discredit my memory. The only thing I have left. So now I have to stop you. Which is like the most selfish, motivation possible. And the reason maybe they're there is because they can't just admit, So now you also have the thing where like, maybe we can redeem you if you just didn't tell your God, like, hey, I fucked up. Like they also didn't think you're bad enough to send you to hell. You just weren't enough of a believer to get into their afterlife because you made it more about you than them. Because that's one thing I love about D&D is like the gods exist. If they get real mad at you, they'll just show up. They'll be like, "I'm sorry, are you home?"
Yeah, like.
But I love the idea.
There's a lot you could do.
I love the idea of like you said, of them going like, of someone being there who's like, "Oh, I can't let you go back."
I've all of a sudden got this like, there's this one short story that Stephen King did about like teleportation and how it's become this thing. And this kid, what you're supposed to do is keep your eyes closed.
Yeah, I know the story you're talking about. Yeah, you
and there's a little son in this family, and he like spits out the thing. And when they get to their destination, he's like become this wizened old, like Gollum-y, chattering, crazy creature. So all of a sudden I'm thinking, what if there's someone who just got into this area, however, don't realize what's going on, and they've been stuck there and driven like insane. And all of a sudden, the players showing up makes this person maybe think like, oh my God, like my prayers have been answered. I'm not alone anymore. And you players, you're my gift from whoever is out there, and I want to keep you here. That could just be a fun spin on it too. There's so many ways you could go though. I didn't really like that having an antagonist with an agenda in a backroom setting. It just opens it up for so much like really juicy drama. Like
I think there's a lot there.
There's so much. There's so many ways you could go. Like that could really make this. Like, I mean, either way, I think using this is going to be a real standout moment. And I think, fitting this into a D&D setting would work. I think any kind of setting would work. But this has got super strong legs.
I think this would have to be a D&O thing too, because it's just got enough. I think it ties really well to like the Stone Tapes thing of like using spellweavers.
Yeah.
Because it would be like, oh, well, it says that there's a guy you have to talk to, who knew this stuff, and he took it to the grave, but he never found the grave.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I put this in the chat as well. There's a thing I listen to all the time on YouTube called the Stephen King Book Club.
Yeah.
And they like do kind of interesting, like right now.
Just hear music all of a sudden.
Sorry. I've got music. I've always got music going. So
no, that's great. Also, it's like
Blue Oyster Cult, the Red and the Black was probably blaring. No, so it's this thing like they talk about books. Like now they've got a sub thing where it's like King reviews by Gen Z and Gen Y. So it's like a father and son. They talk about like I just did like but they're doing like the movie properties. So they did Salem's Lot first. But anyway, one of the things they have going on is like one of the people, they do like this sub thing where it's this guy who's like a travel writer, and he goes to these locations that are in King's books, like in fiction, and it's very, very fun. But like I know, like right now they're doing like a multi-part, like The Long Walk, except for like almost like an audio play version of it by episode, by chapters. It's I enjoy this channel very much, so I would
check that out.
They did a bunch on like Salem's Lot, which I love Salem's Lot. Yeah, I really like this idea a lot.
Yeah.
How I can layer it in will be the real key. Because one of my big problems I run into is sometimes I'll just be too impatient with reveals. So then I'll just plop it in front of people and be like, oh, there, now you don't have to think so hard.
And I think this is probably going to be the most important part of it, because I think there's so much flexibility once you get there of what you could do. it's how you get there and how that's you need to stick the landing on that. I think is what we need to figure out is how we're getting these.
My thought is like kind of like when they went to Olympus or to Mount Celestia and they dealt with gods there. I think it's almost got to be like I don't know if I ever talked about that with you when they went there. There were some NPCs who also were classmates of theirs, and everyone saw the gods differently.
Okay.
Like one of them is a Owlin, and she saw like Hades as like this massive, like dark eagle type of thing.
Oh, that's
and
okay.
you know, like all of them saw it through because none of them are from the same plane. So they all saw it like through their own planar eye, through their like societal eyes.
Yeah.
So in the end, Hades like shows him his true face, and he's like 1950s moral oral dad.
Yeah, no, I heard. Yeah, no, I this is jogging my memory now. I remember this.
And like they loved the idea. Like the first time they meet Hera, Hera is like a statue with no head, with just a peacock eye from like the feathers, like turning like the eye of Sauron, and it's got peacock feathers with all the eyes are moving on it. And in the end, like when she shows them like a form they can digest, she's just like a very, you know, nice woman, like a mom. And Ares is this like dude in a white suit that looks like a little too tight, like all muscles. But at one time, like he gets angry, like not angry, but kind of frustrated. And they see him, and he's like a guy in black armor and with like the helmet. They can't see his face, and you see two red eyes. There's just a constant slow drip of blood from every corner of his armor.
That's cool.
You know, Hephaestus is like, you know, your cool uncle. You know, that's all they ever see, because he comes across as like this very kind of genial, take no shit, tell the truth, older guy. So I like that idea of like them visiting a god from some pantheon who's like, oh, well, I can help you. I mean, if you really want me to help you. But I'm like, it's not going to be fun. And then stabbing one of them to death. And then be like, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, oh, this has got to do. I just killed this person first. Now I got 24 hours. I thought you said you wanted my help.
That'd be sweet.
Did you want my help? Because like even in the Mount Celestia arc, one of the NPCs didn't come back because they made a deal with Hypnos, who's, you know, the god of sleep and dreams, who was like, I need a vacation. So how about this? We trade places. I take your mortal life and I can go walk among the plains and do all this stuff and get a break, because listening to all of your dreams is fucking exhausting. And you stay here, you know, 13-year-old girl, and you take my place. And by doing so, I'll give you this, which was raising a member of the party. And she was like, fine. And she stuck around. And now she's Hypnos temporarily. And when they ask Hypnos, it's like, so what's temporarily? He's like, I don't know, maybe like 6 months, maybe like 600 years. Just depends.
Yeah.
And Thanatos, who they also met, who's Hypnos' brother, who's the god of like kind of like not death, but like adjacent to death, was like not a guidance counselor, but like a therapist. And he just was holding these constant like group therapy meetings on like dealing with your demise. So, and when they pissed him off at one point, he was death, and they were like, whoa. And also like when they were talking to him, like he would be unnaturally long at different times. I like the idea of like gods are concepts, not people. That the only gods who are like people are like Hercules, who they also met, who was kind of a dick. That Hercules is a demigod. He was immortal at one point. So he still has like mortality to him. He still has like just kind of like, and same thing with like I did with Persephone and Hades. They're married, but they're in like a sexless marriage. Like,
yeah,
he's lonely, almost like asexual, and she's like I got to get in from underneath my mom's thumb. So this is more like a marriage of convenience, which is I thought was much more interesting than I'm going to rape this 14-year-old girl. And that she really has a lot more of the control of that relationship than he does because he's lonely.
Mm-hmm.
Like her being there and being his friend and being his comfort is like far more important to him than anything else. And I can't remember who Hercules is married to, but it was kind of the same thing where she's a goddess, he's a demigod. So she's in love with him, but at the same time, she's like, you're fucking exhausting. Like your whole shtick is exhausting. You are fucking exhausting. He's like, they're going to hang out with the bros in my man cave. And she's like, that's fine. Just get the fuck away from me for 8 hours, please. I like that idea of like the gods are more conceptual. And like the Greek gods for me are more like hedonistic and like barely on the edge of control most of the time to like what they want. And I look like the Norse pantheon as being like this doom and gloom, we're constantly on almost nihilistic, like the end eye constantly. It's like trying to get like a feel for that. Like I'm thinking like maybe the gods they have to go to are the Egyptian pantheon. I can't think of who is the god who deals with like the separation of life and death.
Isn't that Anubis?
I think he's just a god of death.
Mm-hmm.
Like who weighs your heart? Osiris is the god of the afterlife and the underworld.
Yeah.
The god of the dead. Thoth and Osiris. I like that
Egyptian deities associated with death: Anubis, Horus, Hathor, and Isis.
I'll have to do some more reading on that, but I really like the idea of them.
Anubis protected the graves.
Okay.
I
also like the idea of like the Norse being completely spread out. Like they don't really. They're paranoid that hanging out together will cause Ragnarok, so they got their own shit. I love the idea of the Greeks like living close to one another so they can continually plot on one another and do MTV, like real world type shenanigans. And then I look at the Egyptian pantheon as more like very structured. Like there's rules and we all follow the rules because we're not a bunch of fucking savages like the Greeks or the Norse. Like, if you want to petition us, you have to show up and there has to be a council and there has to be a quorum and we have to go through all this. You're making faces.
Oh, because there's like, I guess there's over 1,500 Egyptian gods and goddesses.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh, wow.
It's crazy.
I was like, I'm going to figure out which ones are which. And it's like,
that was the thing. Hey, kitty. That was the thing too. Like when I started digging through the Greek pantheon is how many like lower level Greek gods and goddesses there are. And when and if I ever have them do the Norse stuff, I will be having them like at Ragnarok. So like a lot of those lower end Norse gods and goddesses are already dead.
Yeah.
Like, but anyway,
see you, Spike.
Hi, Spike. I like the idea though of like them going to the Egyptians and asking for a committee meeting on trying to figure out how to do this, and then they have the meeting, and then the meeting does a lot of like, I'd like to table that for a subcommittee, and it's very like bureaucratic, and then maybe someone like Set is like, hey, do you really want to do this? They're like, yeah, and then he just stabs one of them. Just like, all right, well, you can do this now. And he wants something in return, but I don't know what he would want in return. Like, I mean, it could be something as simple as like, I want a year of your lives. I want a year of your innocence. Because I've used that kind of trick to age them up a little bit. But it could be something as similar as like, I want your best memory. Scrumptious. Give me your best memory. Nom, 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 nom. But I'm kind of, this is all formulating together to be something kind of interesting.
Hold on, someone just rang my doorbell. Be back
Oh,
one
no
sec.
problem. So yeah, I'm thinking like using that Egyptian pantheon and then like having them with the ferryman, I guess, kind of. Yeah, but I want to get around that part of it. So maybe I just wake up in that kind of perpetual purgatory. It's an interesting concept. I don't know. Will I be able to? Will I remember it? Because I didn't write it down. Luckily, it's recorded, so I can go back to it. But yeah, I don't know. I like it a lot. And Colin has been like invaluable and kind of thinking it out. Let's write a little bit of this down. So we'll say, oh, what's going on? Okay. Fuck you, stupid. So I have a free program, and sometimes it does this thing where it's like, oh, you've typed and saved, so now you don't get this anymore. So we're going to poopy buttholes this. This is why I generally do it in Dropbox, because then it's just kind of artificially saved. And I can continue to fiddle with it, but although that Dropbox is not always super reliable with that shit too either. No. Okay. You can call it I don't know what I'm going to call it yet. So PCs visit the Egyptian pantheon in an effort to beseech them to allow them into purgatory. The pantheon is wildly bureau. Jeez, I can't talk or spell today.
All right, I'm back. Neighbor kids just showed up, so they're all hanging out in the garage.
Nice. What are they doing in the garage?
Well, I think they're gonna either play with action figures, jump around on my exercise equipment.
Jump. Everybody jump.
I don't know. Probably end up watching YouTube.
Is Killian's situation with that neighbor kid better?
Yeah. He apologized to him and stuff, and they've played since and things. So yeah, no, I'm starting to come around on him. He's all right. He's maybe got a little touch of some ADD that needs to be probably addressed, but
some kids they just don't have like the social skills, so they're trying to figure it out too. But they can be just little shitbags. Yeah,
and I don't know, there's I don't know, there's some other kids in the neighborhood that are actually like they kind of like are really kind of crappy to him. So it's just like, oh, I can see how you can get a little frustrated probably, and maybe So yeah, no, I'm cool with him. He's a good little dude, little Edward.
Is there a particular Egyptian term for eternity?
Let me look that up real quick. I don't even know what they called the afterlife. concept of eternity.
Hey, the god Hey personifies eternity or infinity.
Yeah.
In the
And then there's another He and Howhet embody the duality of eternity in time and space.
So yeah, they're like, we got to do these subcommittees. We're going to continue to go through. It's like work for me. We're going to send this to the nitty gritty committee, and then we're going to send this to the fucking forms committee. And I'm just like,
Oh, so He is the male personification of this, while Howhet is the feminine.
how do you spell Howhet?
Hauhet.
Hauhat.
And they had frog heads.
Oh, that's cool. The Egyptian pantheon is fucking metal. I love it so much. I wish there was way more road in it.
Because I guess the frog head symbolizes for the Egyptians fertility, creation, regeneration.
Oh shit! I can see why. Yeah,
eternal.
The cycle of life.
That's crazy.
These two are lovely beings who are.
Their underworld was known as Duat, Duat, and you could only get there through one entrance. Through the
Duat. How you spell Duat? Duat.
Yeah.
Duat. These two are lovely beings who are constantly the most gracious hosts. Think who are like the best like hosts in fiction.
The best hosts in fiction?
Yeah, like, oh, welcome to our home. Oh gosh, what can we do for you? Like, I'm trying to think of like a pair, like a couple that you would instantly think of and go, oh yeah, I know those people. So I like to kind of like I did with Hades and Moral Oral's dad.
I don't know why this came to, but Miracle Max and his wife from The Princess Bride.
Perfect. Yeah, that's perfect. Where they're kind of like, on each other.
Yeah.
But they're just so like
but
lovely.
Yeah, it's an antagonism out of love. And then when each one all of a sudden demonstrates that they know what they're doing, the other one is like, oh yeah, no. He's doing this, watch this, it's gonna be amazing. Or yeah, she knows her stuff, check this out. Yeah. But in between that, it's just this bickering where you're like, what's going on?
Seth's like the bad guy, right? I can never remember who. I think he is like a bad, like my bad is like whatever.
Yeah.
So like disorder is one of his areas.
Okay.
Also, yeah, he's the god of foreigners, which is wild. Hey, I'm the bad guy, so god of foreigners. Jesus Christ. Ancient Egyptians, you have the best. All right. What does he look like though? Is he like he's got snake head or crocodile head? I can never fucking remember.
Crocodile?
Jackal head?
That's Anubis, I think.
What is his head?
Ooh. And then this is cool. So Nehehe, I don't know if I'm saying that right, was the eternal cycle of life on Earth. In Djet, Djet, is life in the eternity of the kingdom of the dead. And apparently the entire afterlife
canine head
took place in a thing called the House of Eternity.
A lounging mutt will 2 T's will befriend the PCs. It's not? Okay, maybe? I thought Mutt had 2 T's. This is Set. He will offer the PCs the quick route to purgatory. If they accept, he'll kill one of Oh, he wants. What does he want? In return, all he wants is either a year of their youth or their best memory. I'll let them choose. If they accept, he'll kill one of them immediately, then explain that they will be dead for 24 hours before needing to make death saving throws. Come on. In that time, they'll need to track down what's a good cool Egyptian name? I do like the name Babu a lot. I'll use that as my placeholder right now. Babu, who had great knowledge on the what the hell just happened there? On the world before worlds, which would give them not just data on the on makers, but on the spell weavers as well. The purgatory is basically the back rooms in the form of what kind of office would it be? Like a doctor's office?
Well, do we want to make it look modern? Or we want it to be a back room that fits?
Well, there's already like it's since we're playing in Planescape. There's one of the worlds was like hard light constructs.
And there's they have the high they get
Storm Song is like space or is like a magic not like steampunk but magic punk.
Yeah, I don't know if he wanted be what if it just like what if it or I don't know if instead of like looking like a doctor's office, what if it I think of what's the Kane Pixel's newest thing where it's that like abandoned mall. That would be a cool area to be, just something with all the escalators and things like that, and you just be describing this big kind of like all these clean white walls and tiled floors and stuff like that, but then there's the architecture doesn't I don't know. That could be cool. Or doing like the traditional back rooms where it is that like I don't know, it's you're like walking endless hotel hallways, it feels like, but hotels from like the 1980s.
I like that mall thing.
That could be really cool because it'd be this kind of a vast thing that could allow people to maybe lose each other a little easier or just feel overwhelmed by I'm in this big foreign space. And why are there not people here?
PCs
it looks like there should be
visibility of one another.
Ooh.
They become moored from the group.
That's cool.
Babu is, where would he be?
Like,
Has taken over the DNO version of a Walden's books.
would it be somewhere central, or would it be
No, they're gonna have to find him.
tucked away? Yeah.
Where he and other scholars read, write, debate, and shelve tomes that have been created by those in purgatory. He was a son of Osiris who ended up being far more interested in his own personal achievements than those of his deity. Not enough to be a heretic, but enough to not be allowed into the afterlife until he admits his error. He was there at the beginning of this pantheon's power and did monumental research into what is known as Pangea and the worlds before. I think we got something there.
Yeah.
Trying to think of a pithy name to put at the beginning so I can remember it. I'll have to think on that. Fantastic. I really like this idea a lot.
Babu's book bonanza. But no, this is gonna be sweet.
I always too like I kind of, when you said that, all I could think of was like the do you remember the book? What were they called? The book fairs.
Yeah, dude, it's classic book fairs. They still have them for my kids and stuff. Yeah.
When you said that, all I could think of was like the book fairs.
I love those. They're great. I think more excited than my kids do when I go to those. Like,
they were the best when
they were the best, man. I would always get the books that would have like the tracing paper in it and show you like, if you do this, you can draw like these fantasy characters or these superheroes and stuff. And oh man, yeah, dude. Oh, I loved that. I loved the book fair.
Dump this in.
Loved it.
All right. Well, I feel good. I feel good about that. I felt like we really went some places there. Yeah. And then got to an actual adventure. Okay, sweet. Colin, where can people find you on the interwebs?
Creepin Colin is my gamer tag across most things. So if you're looking for me to game with you, look on Steam, I'm there.
Did you happen to pick up Killer Frequency?
No, I will do that. I will.
If you do that, I will do Bad at Games with you, where I will just be like, you'll play and I'll just be like decision making guy with
Okay.
you.
All right. Yeah, we can do
Because
that.
I think that would be super fun, but I don't want to play it. I just want to be around when someone plays it.
No, I get that.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, no, let's plan on that. We'll figure that out. This Tuesday, you can find me doing Meng on Meng. I've got some new Star Wars stuff. I might do, but really, I really want to get back to doing the Rivendell sets. So we'll see if I bust that out.
Are you going to get Mordor?
I really want to. I really want to, but it's.
I didn't see what the price was, but it's
around, I think, like 400. But there's these for, I don't know, like I want to get it, but maybe down the line, like discounted, or if I use enough of my Lego points to like knock the price down substantially for it. But there's so many, like there's these two properties, Monkey Kid and Ninjago, and they have these big, huge sets that could
Ninjago's awesome.
Ninjago's great. Monkey Kid's amazing too.
I don't think I know what Monkey Kid is.
It's like a retelling of Journey to the West, kind of, with like the monkey guy and like there's like a pig and all that. Yeah, but it's updated into kind of a Dragon Ball Z style story where the Monkey Kid's this young little dude and he's got all these people.
And Dragon Ball Z, make no mistake, kind of rips off the Monkey King anyway.
Oh yeah, obviously. But like, yeah, there's like mechs and stuff in it. There's like, it's a really cool marriage of like kung fu, sci-fi, and like mechs and stuff, kind of like Ninjago, but like with a real more fantastical flair where like there's like, you get like cool little pig-headed minifigures and like dudes with bear heads a lot, and I love it.
Which is that's very that's not Ninjago. There was a whole line they had with that stuff.
Chima.
Yeah, I loved Chima.
Chima's great.
Chima's fucking awesome.
Whenever it's funny, whenever I go into my we go to the Bricks and Minifigs in Roseville, whenever I go there and I see a Chima set, I'm like, ooh, Chima, and all the employees start laughing because it's like they're like, there's always one who gets super excited. I was just like, yeah,
Chima's really cool. It's so visually interesting.
Yeah, I got a gorilla dude I still haven't opened yet, who looks fantastic. So maybe I'll do that on Tuesday. Bust him out and maybe some more Rivendell. But yeah, no. But
are you going to do the D&D set?
Oh, I don't know. That feels so overpriced for what you get with it. But then there's the adventure with it too, and I don't know. I mean, yeah. What am I saying? Eventually, I'm going to get it. But yeah. Yeah, I don't know, but also like before I make any more purchases, like big ones, I need to build the entirety of the current line of the medieval sets, and since I went and got all of them, so I need to do that. So yeah, Meng on Meng, you can find me doing that. If we're doing a Bad at Games, I might be on that. Otherwise,
I'm not doing Bad at Games again until the first of the month, and then it's back to fucking vampiring so hard. Doug and I have been Draculaing so remarkably hard.
Bunch of goddamn Draculas.
Bunch of fucking Draculas around here. Like you wouldn't believe how hard we've Draculaed. So yeah, we've been Draculaing really hard.
But yeah, and then Thursdays on alternating weeks from Meng on Meng, we're doing Spoopy Boys. We have to get into the Discord, our options for what we want to do.
Yeah.
Well, I just had ideas the other day and I didn't write them down, so I'll work on that.
I definitely want Immortal Hulk to be in those ideas.
Yeah, Immortal Hulk, the Creep films. I think we should throw one option in there for maybe a watch along, and what we maybe seeing, we could like do those down the line too, because I feel like those are some solid ideas for shows, and then we could just figure out one other thing too that could be a good topic to do.
Is there anything like that's like as far as like genre or anything you've been wanting to chat about? Because I feel like we talked genre last time. I feel so bad last episode Like we barely talked about the movie you really liked. We talked about the movie you were like, eh.
Oh
like
no, but
40
we
minutes.
talked a lot. I thought it was a good conversation.
It was. I just felt really bad. Like I was like, oh God.
Oh well, no, it's okay. I got to sing my praises for the Bay, so it was all good, and I got to watch the Bay again. So I was just pleased that I did that and loved it so much.
It's really, really, really good.
It's super, super duper good. It's super duper good. Oh gosh, I just had a thought. I want to kind of get as like you. I love that you want to do Immortal Hulk to shine a spotlight on some horror comics. I'd love to maybe talk some horror literature.
Yeah,
whether we focus on a specific author or like
is there a book that lately that you've been like, I really want to talk about? Because I think if we're gonna do a book, we need to give each other enough time to read it.
Yeah.
Because like I would love to talk about House of Leaves, but like, do I really want to sit down and read that? Because that book is like eating a very, very rich meal. I need to eat it in short bites over a long period of time to actually enjoy it.
Would we want to put the novel World War Z up on the docket to discuss? There's so much juice in that.
I mean, if we could just talk about the fucking audiobook, which is perfect.
Yeah, no, that's how I was gonna go through it again because I love that audiobook is fantastic.
It's like 15 hours. It's amazing.
It's wonderful.
And the cast is outrageously good.
Yeah, and everyone's like just knocking it out of the park. It's so good.
Everybody's bringing A game, and it's.
Which reminds me, not necessarily audiobook, but the podcast of Left Right Game. Mwah,
I listened to that podcast. Like I said, my thing with that was the Creepcast. About it. That's where
like it's really good though. They have like a lot of good actors and like
that's what I've heard. Like they
sound effects and everything. It really brings you in.
Is it like? Really is it limited in scope as far as like not like super long? I can't figure out what I'm trying to say.
It's 10 episodes, I think.
So it's finite.
Yeah, and each are about 45 minutes, but yeah, it's got a clear beginning and end.
Tessa Thompson's in that, right?
Yeah, she's the main girl. It's cool how they it's awesome. It's very good.
I mean, I'd be willing to go back and
I'm only too deep into it, but it's very enthralling.
Where are you at with like Night Vale?
Oh gosh, I'm way behind.
Because the reason I ask is someone in a thing I was watching about Left Right Game, they talked about I think it's Alice Isn't Dead, which is the second Night Vale book.
Oh.
Which is kind of, it just builds on the Night Vale mythology as being very similar in the idea of like large open roads.
Yeah.
And things on those roads. I can't remember what they were called. Like, so the main character in that book, also called Alice, is looking for her lost significant other. And the main character is a person of a gay person of color.
Okay.
So it's also the idea of like, you're on the open road. There's these people that aren't really people. I can't remember if they're called husks or something like that. Ooh. But they dress like people, and yet they have like sharp teeth, and they act like kind of like rednecky, but like the cops are in on it.
Oh.
So there's at one point where one of them gets really like threatens Alice, and she goes to the police, and they're just like, oh, I've known this guy for forever type of thing. And, it's that, they're complicit.
Yeah. I like
and how creepy that is.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that might be a good one too. Like that's a good, like even the Night Vale book is fucking great. So even that would be something that we might want to talk about. I don't know. I think just like coming up with some options, maybe coming up with like some books, some comics, I wouldn't mind doing some music on there.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah, that's
movies,
something we
video
definitely.
games. We haven't really done anything with video games either.
Yeah.
But I would, if we're going to do video games, it's something we've played, or even if we're like, hey, we're going to do this on Bad at Games, so we're going to play through it while we talk about it,
Yeah.
Intermittently, just because I know like there's so many fucking people who do that, and I'm like, that are way better at it. I mean, no offense to us, they're just way better at it.
Oh yeah.
So I don't want to like retread ground where someone's just crushing it. But yeah, I think, maybe we'll have to come up with some ideas. We still need to just settle on a name. And then I need to change the stupid video thing at the beginning. Because yeah, I've just been bad about it. Also because I need Beard's help, and Beard has been frighteningly busy lately.
Mm-hmm.
I feel bad for that dude. Yeah, he's a busy boy. Doing boy stuff. So yeah, anyway, Colin, you rule. Mm-hmm. I'm always happy to spend time with you.
Yeah, man.
For my boys, I am here tomorrow night for DNO, and then next Monday, for the Monday after, for DNO as well, because we're doing back-to-back DNOs. And then I'll be here Tuesday for Meng. It's our thing. And I am probably, I would love if I had a way to like put a head camera on and work on my thing back there, but I don't. Maybe if I get outside and sand my Castle Grayskull attachment stuff and prime it, I'll do some painting on that.
Okay, yeah, that'd be cool.
But we'll see. That'd have to happen today, or no, happen today or tomorrow. Maybe I'll sneak, depending on the weather too. I take it all upstairs. I just haven't gone outside because outside it scares me right now. I don't know why. I'm a fucking mess. So yeah, I think we'll do that. Because I'd like to get my setup all put together. Because I got lights for it. And yeah, it'd be cool. I want to put some dudes on it. I want to dude it up. Yeah, and then that's it until next Sunday. And then we'll be back for prep school, because no Bad at Games this week for this guy. I don't think, unless it's Monday. Is next Monday next Monday's the 1st. Oh no.
Oh.
Wait. Yeah, so not this week, but the 5th will be Bad at Games. Will be Fang Bang. Fang, what do we call it? Fang Gang. Sorry. I don't know what's wrong with me anymore. I'm a mess. So yeah. Other than that, thank you for hanging out. Thank you for talking with me, Colin, for being my pal. And we hope you guys have a good rest of your Sunday. I'm going to watch some Mountain Monsters with Doug and maybe eat some Twizzlers.
I got to go make lunch for my kids.
Nice. Oh, man.